Good morning and welcome to Sunrise. I'm Ayo Makinde. Well, as you can see, my partner is not here this morning. No, don't worry. She's okay. It's just one of those things that happens to girls. Yeah, you can laugh it off. Okay, let me begin with something that's very troubling and that a number of people have been very concerned about in the course of the week. And that is the heat wave. So many people in various parts of the country complaining about heat. I am sure a number of you may have also seen that image that some people are making around. They have three planets. One planet Earth, one planet Venus, one planet Nigeria. And Nigeria is the closest to the sun according to that image. Laughable as it may sound, it is something that is concerning for many, many people. The heat is horrible. And it is understandable. Hey, it's nature. There isn't anything that we can do about that. We can't turn on the AC on nature, can we? Unless it rains, and only God can do that himself. In the interim, do yourself one favor. Drink water. I have a culture every morning, as soon as I wake up, take a bottle of water and gobble down at least between 50 cl and 1 liter every morning. It has to be more than 50 cl. Every morning, at least 75 cl of water I gobble down. I drink every morning as soon as I wake up. And in the course of the day, I try to drink as much water as I can. I say I try. For someone who come and start asking me questions and be measuring the quantum of water that I drink. You know, the reason for this is sometimes you could even have health concerns that you're not even aware of as a result of the heat. You can Google it yourself. Consequences of heat wave on the human body. A friend was just telling how that, she went to a salon one day and for whatever reason began to feel woozy. And next thing you know, they were pouring water on her and it wasn't making any difference. Next thing, she literally had to go take a shower and felt a tad bit better. And then went home, went to a clinic to check what's the problem. Heat. So please, do yourself a favor. Drink water. If you are one of those people who say, I don't really like drinking much water, please. If they say you should take medication, you will take it. If you say agbo or whatever it is that you take, you will take it. So do yourself a favor. Drink water. Drink water. For all intents and purposes, it is good for you. It is healthy for you. It is the right thing you can do for yourself. Please drink water. If I go get one now, while you are watching this program, go get one. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Yes, please, just stand up. Whether it's hot or it's cold, it's warm, it's whatever, drink water. And for those of you tea lovers, like me, if you are a lover of tea, especially the ones that is black without milk, you must drink more water. Yes, medical practitioners, you can confirm. You have our X handle, Sunrise CTV. That's our X handle. Drop a message or two for us. Heat is a major concern now. We can't add heat to the cost of living. Please, drink water. I'm pretty sure that that's fairly cheap enough for us, okay? So please, drink a lot of water. While still at that, on the very first of this month, one of my contacts sent a message asking, if there was anything that can be done that the Ogun State government is doing for them because they haven't had light for, guess how long? 4 years, well, almost 4 years, he says. Let me read his message. He said, please, we need help. We have been without power for almost 4 years now at MTR Gardens in Opik, which was built by the Ogun State government. And that's not all. A number of other people, just yesterday I was with another contact somewhere down, I don't know whether it's Moweiba or any of those areas. And they said that they've also been having power problems for a very long time. How much really can people cope with when this heat wave is as horrible as it is, and then they don't even have electricity if they were going to in any way ameliorate with fan or whatever else. We know that the federal government is doing its own bit, but now that it is constitutional for states themselves to be able to generate electricity, I'm wondering what is holding us all down from doing whatever it is that is necessary for us to do to ensure that, we protect ourselves, we help our people. Electricity is not just for combating heat and all of that. We know that it will create a lot of employment. It will preserve a lot of resources for so many people. So can we even begin with that? Okay, can we begin with those particular things? Because whether you like it or not, we have to be our brother's keeper. There's something that the president said that everyone in government has to own, and that is the fact that you asked for the job. Yeah, so no excuses. Get the job done, the job you applied for. I mean, isn't that what it is? I beg to apply. You asked for the job, so please, let's see what we can do to ensure that people, get the best of the life that they want for themselves. Now, let me just touch on this last one, and then we can move on to the program for the day. People talk about insecurity all of the time. All kinds of data will come from various state governments. Even the federal government will come up with its own data. But I can almost be sure, and some of you may also be aware, that there are so many other cases of insecurity that are unreported than we are aware of. They may not be up to the numbers of government, but let's say that the figures, the official figures are speculative based on available data. I've heard one or two persons, in fact, I think I saw one, some WhatsApp status of somebody who was kidnapped and along the line was released. That may never get into the data of government. And there are several others like that all across the 36 states of the country. Can we begin to go back to those olden days? If you see something, say something. The people in your community that you haven't seen before, can you ask questions? Excuse me, where are you from? Where are you going? Whose house are you coming from? In my hometown, for instance, you get into the community. Even if you got lost 5 kilometers away from home, they will only need to ask, who is your father? Once they can identify who your father is, you are not lost, because they will take you straight to your father's door. To your father's door. If you are a stranger in that community, please, whose father's name are you going to mention? And even when they take you to the house, they're going to make sure that that father or someone comes out of that house to confirm that you are a citizen. In fact, you are a resident in that particular place. Can we begin to go back to those places, those times where we protected ourselves by looking out for each other? Insecurity is real in the country. There is no doubt about it. But can we go back? You see someone in your organization, you just walk past assuming that the person is a visitor. What if he's not a visitor? What if he's come here to do something else? We've had cases, just somewhere in the course of the week, someone came into an estate, works for a particular individual, goes into their house, cuts away a liter of diesel with one gas cylinder. How was he caught? By security folks. What if that estate or environment was not gated? What if it didn't have that kind of protection? Several other issues around like that. Can we begin to look out for each other? In the name of love. Because without love, how can we govern our country? All right? All right. What do we have listed for you this morning? Let's begin with appropriate pricing. Have our market forces enough? We've been talking about all of that has been going on in the light of that judgment that Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, won. That is there. Then we also have a plan on our list today. Focus on roles of local governments. A lot of talk is going on about that one. What is their role and who should be doing what? Then it's World Pangolin Day. If you're hearing that for the first time, wait a minute, what is pangolin? Don't worry, hold your horses. We'll join you. Lifestyle today is talking about tracking and stemming anxiety, especially, now that things are so expensive. You could be anxious. You could be having anxiety disorders and not know it. That's what this is all about. And our artist of the week is a human being. Say Shim. I'm going to keep you guessing. In the meantime, please, you could grab a cup of cocoa or cocoa, but more importantly, water. I'll be right back.
We live in an era of massive innovation, true ideas that impact every industry and society, cutting-edge technology that gives you a glimpse of the future, intuitive minds that meet the demand of a revolution of talent. The future of enterprise lies in the digital world. It's full of questions and yet solutions. Join us on Tech Trends as we bring you the finest blend of technology and the latest happenings in the tech space. Tech Trends, the tech edge you need. No matter where they are, if it concerns the people, we are there. From community game changers to homemade solution providers, where assurance and trust are built.
Policing should be people from the community who do the job. You don't bring an outsider.
We hear about Amotekun. We've not seen much of them around this area.
Documenting journeys of many starting big from a small place. Creating an intentional community where people go beyond living together to building strong and more friendly communities. Community Report, only on Channels Television.
land. We dey see them, we know they blind, oh. We must fight for our right, oh. Anyhow, man must die, oh, yeah.
Officials of the Investigation and Enforcement Unit of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, at a supermarket in Area 11 Garki of the nation's capital. Is in front of the team swings into action, checking the prices of pastries on the shelves as they noticed varied prices on some items.
That was what was the issue the other time. People were picking prices and the tills were not telling the appropriate one with the display. 18 and 15. One has 15, one does. There's no price, 18. They wrote 15,000.
The team moves to the higher floor to check for prices on machinery items. A directive is given for the staff to leave and the facility is sealed. The leadership of the agency puts out a warning to businesses contributing to price gauging in the food chain sector to stop.
The product brands are different and they come with different prices. But what the consumer sees is one price. And it's at the discretion of the tillman to identify which price of the product, because all the products in the till systems are linked kuli. So if he decides it's 700 kuli or 1,200 kuli, it's at his discretion and the display will show you kuli. So each brand item is supposed to be priced differently if it is different. And where you have a bunch, is either you price individually or you display the price on the group of identical items. You cannot mix items together and have a single price, and only when you get to the till, you get a different price.
What we have found out that these people are doing is misleading pricing and lack of transparency in their pricing, which is against Section 1153 of the law that says an undertaking shall not require a consumer to pay a price for any good or service higher than the one that is on display. So that's exactly what is happening here, and that's what we have proved to you. You have also seen it from your own perspectives.
The acting executive vice chairman of the FCCPC calls on consumers to stay watchful and report infractions.
They can lodge their complaints with us, and we give our assurances, since everybody knows by now that we don't only bark, we bite. We have the will, we have the capacity. So therefore, lodge your complaint, would make sure that we do you justice.
The agency has promised to provide speedy redress to consumer complaints and end the unscrupulous exploitation of Nigerian citizens.
Food is a necessity for humanity. However, this basic need is becoming difficult to afford for many Nigerians following the rising cost of foodstuff, including vegetables, staples such as gari, rice, and yam. It is a regular market day at the farmers' market in Abuja, where the farmers bring their wares and consumers hope to buy at lower rates. However, many buyers here are met with disappointment at the cost of the food items.
You can imagine a mudu of rice, 2,000 naira, and there is no money to buy it. Gari, 700. Sir, it's not funny. There is no money. People are dying.
Okay, what is happening now is unbearable to the masses because it's not what we expected. Last 2 weeks, I believe that the price of plantain last 2 weeks is more better than today. The way things are going now, I don't know where the masses will still bear it in this extent.
For some other buyers, it's mixed feelings of anger and frustration.
People are suffering like never before.
Bag of rice is 70,000.
I'm not only talking about the bag of rice. Anything you buy in the market now is as like triple as.
times 3. People are suffering, let's be real.
No food, no work, nothing. Government just down, they look us, we they suffer. Now, if you go steal now, they will come arrest you, say you be thief. What in the one man will do for this country? What the no one help us? What in the one man will do? More kill ourselves, ne?
The situation is the same at the popular AK Oyinbo markets and AK Oka markets in Anambra states. The prices of food and beverages have skyrocketed, causing some form of hardship for buyers and sellers.
Like last year, we do say sugar at the rate of sugar was at the rate of 40,000 just last year, but now it's 75,000. Rice is at the rate of 30,000, 32, but rice now is 65,000, 66,000.
Lactogen was 22,500 naira, but currently now it's 52,000 naira. Now it's 64,000. So the price increase is unbearable, it's too much.
Between February of 2023 and now, the cost of some food items have more than doubled. A bag of rice that sold between 30,000 and 35,000 now sells for 65,000 naira or more, depending on your location. The same goes for some items such as gari, corn, millet, flour, and palm oil. The rising cost of foodstuff has led to protests across some states, such as Kano and Niger states. The high cost followed the removal of fuel subsidy and the high rate of the foreign exchange. Analysts point to the implementation of the economic policy under the present administration.
It is not about setting up a committee. It is about rejigging the entire economic policy framework and the way we are implementing some of these policies. Even if you open up your reserves, how hungry Nigerians are today, in the next 1 month, that reserves will be empty.
However, the federal government continues to defend some of its policies towards addressing the high cost of living.
When you look at inflation, a large element is food inflation. In fact, food inflation accounts for 33% of the consumer price index. The bold measures that were taken are resonating around the world. We go to the IMF meetings, UNGA meetings, G20 meetings, and there is nothing but pride and admiration and deep respect for the courage that has been shown economically in Nigeria.
The United Nations Sustainable Goal 2 targets ending hunger and ensuring access to nutritious food by the year 2030. The present situation, however, does not suggest that that is possible. Nigerians are hoping that the impact of the policies pays the nation in the long run.
You've seen two reports at least. One of them was talking about price gouging by Nigerians. Another one is really talking about the realities that a good number of people are encountering in the country, in various parts of the nation as at this moment. No, needless to say that the economic situation in the country is increasingly unbearable. Needless to say, it is the reality for many individuals and organizations. The private sector is no less affected by that as well. The policy of the federal government to implement the fuel subsidy removal since May 29 saw the instant increase by fuel attendants, petrol stations, of the price of fuel immediately that announcement was made on May 29, 2023. Now, of course, that has also triggered a surge in food inflation. You heard from the coordinating minister of the economy, and a hike in costs of transportation, goods and services, resulting in a higher cost of living. This development, of course, has precipitated protests in many parts of the country. Now, that's for the general, way of our lives. To that court judgment, the Federal High Court in Lagos ordered the federal government of Nigeria to fix prices of goods and petroleum products within 7 days. And of course, it's not something you are unaware of. It was the Justice Ambrose Louis Alagua specifically ordered the federal government to fix prices of milk, flour, salt, sugar, bicycles and their spare parts, matches, motorcycles and their spare parts, motor vehicles and their spare parts, as well as petroleum products, diesel, kerosene, and PMS, also known as petrol. Let's have conversations around this this morning with three gentlemen joining us from our studios in Abuja. Chukwemeka Eze is lecturer, Prime University in Abuja. He's a member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. He also with him is Abubakar Umar, who is a financial analyst and economic expert, as well as Kaudi Okwefa, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning. Now, Mr. Okwefa, let me begin with you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Mr. Okwefa, I would like to begin with you, Dr. Okwefa. I'd like to begin with you. A huge chunk of the prices of goods and services, particularly farm products in Nigeria, is as a result of the price of moving those products from the farm to the city center where people will purchase them to take them to the table. How significant is that in the scheme of things, given all the things that you know and what we should be considering?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me. Let me first appreciate the effort of channels for bringing this matter up. Now, the cost of goods, the cost of services is impacted by the supply chain and logistics mechanisms. And in any interruption along the supply chain and the logistics mechanism may affect, and in most cases will affect prices. Now, in the case of what we are going through, you will recall during COVID, the supply chain mechanism was completely disrupted. And after COVID, the prices of goods went up because of the accessibility to job, accessibility to the farm, and the capacity to move the products from the point of production or the farm to the people. In the case of what we are discussing today, as long as the cost of transportation increases, you will expect that it will impact the cost of goods. Those are some of the things that are referred to as the market forces. In our own case now, I will speak to the moment you change the cost of energy, which propels mobility in most instances, you will expect that to also trickle down to the cost of production, which also includes the cost of transportation of the goods. So it is not surprising, and government is not unaware, in my own estimation, due to my interaction. As soon as the statement was made on May 29th, that fuel subsidy is gone, government knew prior to that there will be increases in the cost of transportation. And you see a lot of interventions from state level, local government level, and the federal government level. And people complain that why did the price go up immediately? If the price had not increased within the next 24 hours, what you will see is market disruption. Nothing will set in. People will keep their goods because they will be talking of recovery costs. Now, as for transportation, what you have is we are using diesel. Diesel is deregulated long time ago. Some of us are using PMS to move the smaller vehicles. So whichever way you go, price of goods. But by July 31st, no, July 13th, the government came up and declared food emergency on food security. That tells that the government is aware these things will be impacted. And so many measures, grains were released, farmers were done, state governments were...
But Dr. Okwefa, the issue, my apologies if you can hear me well, I think it is understandable. Everyone will say, okay, the natural thing would be that, the prices of goods and services will rise because of the announcement that the president made. But let me come to Mr. Umar. The value chain, let's look at the entire food value chain in the country. We'll come to the pricing, which is the main issue that we're supposed to be looking at. But talk to us about the food value chain. Do you think we have a holistic understanding as a people, Mr. Umar, of the entire food value chain? Have we significantly factored them all in, right? So that everyone in the food value chain, the agricultural, value chain, the farmers and all, do you think we have a holistic understanding and collaboration that could have helped us to ensure not just the availability, but also affect the prices of foods, of goods and services in the country? Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Umar, we can't hear you at this moment. Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead, we can hear you now. Oh, dear. Well, we'll come back to you, Mr. Umar. I'm sorry we cannot hear you very well right now. We can't hear you, but I'm very sure that we'll get back to you shortly. Mr. Eze, if you can take on the same question, a general understanding or cohesion of the food value chain in the country, if you get the drift of what I'm saying. Do you think we have a holistic understanding of it in a way that will have affected the food prices more favorably than we are having it now? Ms. Eze, go ahead, please.
I thought the question was directed to...
Yeah, I directed it to him, but we can't hear him. If you can just go ahead and take it on.
All right. Thank you so much. Concerning the food value chain, we ask ourselves, where are we coming from? We've been running our affairs in the country with having all the parts of the whole operating optimally. So what has disrupted it? We have in the food value chain the agriculturists, those in the livestock business. Something disrupted it. Insecurity, cost of power and energy, and also we have policies in an import-dominated economy. Certainly, the interest rate, bank interest rate, the exchange rate, all this cobbled together have affected whatever disruption we are having in the value chain. So basically, the issue is not whether we have a food value chain, but looking at the disruptions that have caused the value chain not to be in its optimal state. So this daily change in exchange rate definitely has totally disorganized the system.
Well, help us understand. Just 1 second, Mr. Eze. There are many Nigerians who are wondering what the exchange rate has got to do with the price of tomato in Kutuwenji.
It has a lot to do with the price of tomato. And I'm going to give you an example. If somebody running a school changes the cost of school fees from 150,000 naira in a term to 350,000 naira in a term, the tomato seller has a child in that school. He discovers that if he continues to sell a portion of tomato at perhaps, let's say, 200 naira, that he won't be able to pay the new school fees of 350,000 naira. Definitely what he's going to do is to move the price from 200 naira per portion to 400 naira or more to enable him get sufficient funds to pay the school fee of his child. So he also will need to buy fuel to power his generator. If he doesn't have a generator, he wants to buy one. The costs of all this have changed. So he too will need to change his price in order to meet them at the point of their operation. The economy operates as a whole. So definitely what happens to one happens to the other. We call it a chain. And once something is removed from a chain, it affects every other thing in that chain.
But so how does this not? Yeah, Mr. Eze, I get you, but how does this not? Okay, let me bring that to Dr. Okwefa. Well, Mr. Umar, I'm still going to come back to you, but let me bring that to Dr. Okwefa. Do you agree with Mr. Eze on this particular issue? Because those who will be wondering, how is this not exploitation? Dr. Okwefa, that's for you.
Yeah, I cannot but agree with him that once you can have disruption on from the point of natural disaster, you can have from the point of security, you can have from the point of energy cost, whichever way. We are all in the system, and there are interaction among all these forces. And one way or the other, everybody is affected. But however, that does not take away the fact that extortion could also set in. People could also take advantage, and that is where government management of the situation becomes critical and interventions. So what he's saying is that I may not be involved directly with one aspect of the economy, but if by default I have to interact in my daily life with somewhere that is affected, that person will transfer that effect onto me. So the same way it goes. That's why they say market force is not market force. Some people say market dynamics. Some people say market whatever. So what is at play is the many effects are there. It may not be direct, it could be indirect.
The consequences, yeah. Dr. Okwefa, my apologies.
Happens.
Yeah, I get the point, but the consequences might be dire. Let me ask Mr. Umar, and I believe that we can hear you now. Now, as a result of this dynamic movement of prices, more on the upwards, swing, the people are not finding it funny. It is not pleasant for many, many people, both the producers of food and the people who consume the food. So how do we protect the people from these likely extortions that Dr. Okwefa has spoken to now? How do we communicate it to them?
Yeah, good morning. I believe you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, that's good. I was talking in the morning. I said to you, you said we should drink a lot of water, and I said the price of water has also moved up. So this is a very serious issue. When we are talking about the dire consequences of the increase in such prices, it's a very difficult thing to curtail because we are now talking about a desperate situation. And to link it up with you are trying to understand why the price of exchange rate will affect the dollar is technically a matter of inflation. Because when you have inflation, it means everybody now is trying to survive. Everybody is trying to get the real income he is going to earn. So definitely, even if the cost of your good does not relate with the raw material, you will need other costs to survive. And that makes the other people of product to, adjust their prices. I think yesterday in Abuja, I had the price of cement is around 8,000, 9,000. Some people are saying it is increasing by the hour. Although this might not be with organic demand, it might purely be, speculative, and the way people are insecure about the situation. It's about the afraid of unknown, what might happen tomorrow. You can sit here today and then tomorrow you just wake up and have that the fuel price has pushed up to 800. So that's why people do not want to take any chances to make any losses. And that's the reason why if a bit rumors come about on the price of something, you heard that the marketers will just increase price, despite the fact that what they have in the store is an all inventory. So the issue is that nobody wants to make a loss, because technically, if you make a loss, then you are not going back to the market to refill. But then other people are talking about that's not ethical or that's not moral, because you get a good in your oil price, and then why are you trying to push the increase to the final consumer? So government has to come in. Government has to set up something. But then we can see what is happening in the past 2 days is actually sending the country into a more chaotic position than trying to calm everything, because everybody now is afraid. All business people are now afraid. If really government can go to open my inventory, be it either they are hoarding or otherwise, and then increase prices. We had the energy industry also, they are being sanctioned for overbilling. And when you look at in Abuja too, some stores, information is going around that, and they have been closed down because of pricing. So these are some issues. When you are in a panic mode, the best thing I think you need to do to the Nigerian people is that to get their trust first. And when you don't have their trust, then whatever policy you bring, they will not believe it, and they may not act in accordance to what the result you intend to achieve. So without that trust, it's going to be a very difficult thing to calm people in the needed perspective, and to be able to achieve the result that you want to achieve. Because it's happening, I can tell you, it's the same thing with the exchange rate. Most of the, we are seeing it 14, 15, 16. It's about speculation. People are actually afraid, and there is no trust in the government. We know, yes, there is a structural problem of liquidity, but then after that, there is also speculation. Everybody is trying to, how to
Mr. Omar,
off from the system.
That's a valid point that you have made there. But these speculations, these price instability, if I can use that term, is all people. And there are those who will point to the fact that, look, if we care about ourselves enough, we will not even be talking in that regard. You will not be hiking prices indiscriminately. You heard, on the one hand, there is the natural market forces. On the other hand, as Dr. Kwefa clarified, there is also the function of extortion. The example is that which we played earlier before this program started, when the FCCPC paid a visit to a shop in Abuja and they found some, unscrupulous activities going on there. How do we stem that tide? Because that is not government. Yes, it may also be as a result of what Mr. Eze said about some people saying, okay, well, I need to increase the prices also so that I can, be able to take care of my own family and all of that. But that is extortion. The person you are extorting from themselves, they also have families they want to take care of. How do we protect people? How do we protect Nigerians from Nigerians?
That's a very interesting question that you have raised, and I also have that opinion that Nigerians need to also try to be their brothers' keepers. Of course, the government, is the #1 point of concern everybody is looking up to. But then it is a honesty, or I say, it's a problem within us. It's a problem within us that everybody wants to actually, cheat down on his partner, to profit off the other person. But it's actually very difficult thing for people to try to just adjust like that. It cannot happen. That's why we said you need people trust as a government. When you are a leader, you lead people. And when you lead people, you have to do some actions that they will be inspired by. And when they're inspired by, then you realize that you can begin to, adjust. Everybody will begin to say, okay, even the government is doing that. People will feel happy if such is happening. And then if people really see bad thing that is happening, like the example you give when FCCPC visited Abuja store, they might easily, I'm sure there are other stores in Abuja that might probably be doing what the other store that has been locked up is doing. But then when people see that the government is coming up to responsibility, the citizens will also play their own role in, submitting the names or reporting those that are doing such kind of malpractices. So optics is actually good, not a case of where you have people that are suffering and then people will be seeing the government is doing some kind of things that does not, actually, the government does not play the sympathetic role and trying to assist the masses in trying to recover from what is actually happening. So if the government has played an optics, show concern, show sympathy and act in good faith, I believe that people will also come up. But then it's just a matter of everybody will just assume that nobody cares actually about, the government does not care about citizens. So I'm just trying, it's just me and myself, because that's actually the mentality, or that's the mindset on the streets.
Unfortunately,
so this is the reason why you
see... Unfortunately, that is the situation. Mr. Eze, let me come back to you now. So this is where we find ourselves, and I'm glad that you are a member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. Now, this particular conversation that we are having stems from a lot of, how do I put this now, interesting conversations, distrust, and all of those ones. Now, talking about appropriate pricing, what factors do you think we may be missing? Beyond the regulations, such as the FCCPC, what factors in the area of appropriate pricing could we be missing that could be a safeguard for people?
I want to start with a caveat that though I'm a member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, I don't speak for the committee.
That is understandable.
So any opinion I give here is my personal opinion. So, yes, I have looked at what is happening, and I think we should do less treating the symptoms. The root of the matter is that Nigerians like movement. Anything that will affect their movement will affect prices. Now look at income. The minimum wage is 30,000 naira, and some states are not paying it. Then look at inflation. We are having hyperinflation. Some call it stagflation. That's what we are having now. Look at interest rates. Cost of borrowing affects production. Look at the exchange rate. We are import dominated. In fact, when people hear most supermarkets in this country sell foreign products. Yes, the food that the masses eat, they are not foreign. But you need transport to produce them. You will need money to produce them. The factors of production, they go beyond that they are local. Those factors, some of them are dictated by what happens at the banks, what happens at the parallel market. In fact, so considering the situation we found ourselves, the market forces that are in operation, we can assuage the situation by engaging in more production. Once the production continues to be low and continues to be disrupted, because, for instance, some people are afraid even to travel to certain parts because of insecurity. In some places, for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, you don't get power. So basically, there is no way you will continue production without power. So the organized private sector should be engaged by the government. And they should suggest ways to come out of this.
Okay.
If you want to change prices without the organized private sector playing a role, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, we find it difficult to do its work because you may end up having a black market for almost every product.
Okay. Well,
so when you have a black market
for
these products,
yes,
definitely things will go out of hand.
Okay. Well, let me come back to.
I think.
Yes. Go ahead. Please land on that point. Land on that point.
Yes, I think since we are operating in a chain, all parties should be involved.
Okay.
Extortion that we talk about will disappear in the face of production and competition.
Okay. Well, I guess that's part of the conversation that the federal government is already having. Well, let me come back to you, Dr. Kwefa. From what we're saying now and all the issues that have been raised, are market forces enough to ensure appropriate pricing?
I will not go straight to say yes or no. But in the middle, I will say market forces may not be enough if it is not properly managed and controlled.
Okay.
There is this thing you call social redistribution of wealth. There is inequality. There is security issues. You have global issues. You have energy costs. Then you have wage. Now, what the government has done to make to assuage the situation is what I think I want to emphasize. And Nigerians, like my other colleagues have said, will have to build trust and pay attention. May 29, statement was made that situation is not that good. July 13, a statement was made, food security emergency declared. July 31, intervention measures were made public to Nigerians. We will intervene here, the government will do this, the government will do that. By October 1, the president was clear. We are at the bottom of a cliff. To move out of that cliff, I need to press the throttle. And when I press the throttle, there will be some inconvenience to give me a little bit of force to jack. We are in that stage. Then the liberalization of the exchange rate. All these factors had come together. So what do we need to focus or do now to make the market forces may not be enough. The government has to do something, but definitely not price control.
Okay. Well, which is what the president himself has also already said.
Not price control.
Yeah, which the president himself has already declared that he's not going in that direction. But Mr. Umar, now...
Just 4 days ago.
Perhaps one of the challenges that a number of people are looking at Mr. Abubakar Umar is that the federal government seems to be alone in this. How about the state governments? What should they be doing? It is in the states that the people live who are complaining. It is within the confines, within the territories of the states and the necessary collaboration of the state governments, their commissioners, their local government administrations, that should be also finding a way to pacify the people so that there is no unnecessary unrest. I have, and I will continue to reference the example of the Niger State government, who has said we will prioritize our people in terms of food. What should the state governments themselves be doing right now?
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting point here, because this is also what I have in mind. I think we focus too much on the federal government, and the power given to them might be enormous. Of course, that's why people focus. But then the coming together of the subnationals is what will be able to get us out of this situation. If you look at when they have, devalued the currency, the amount of FAC that is coming into respective states, I think, is it yesterday I'm seeing analysis, a state like Adamawa has more than 60% increase in their FAC. Almost the state have witnessed a significant rise in the FAC allocation. But, I understand that, of course, their overhead costs might rise. But then it's understandable when you have an increase in your income, the least you can do for people in such a dire situation is to adjust their salary. But it's unfortunately that some states are still paying 18,000 naira minimum wage, not to talk of even the existing 30,000. So these are some areas. When we look at it and then is it December or November, I think the federal government in conjunction with the State Economic Council, they have actually, I think, released about 5 billion or so to states, where some they can use to distribute palliative measures to their respective citizens. But then how effective is that? How has the state implemented that? And also, the third one I will say is us, the citizens. The responsibility to look at our states and then begin to also caution them or ask for accountability.
Okay.
Thank God, I will say we are getting there little by little, although it requires a much pressure than what we have been doing. Because now the budget of various states are actually available on the internet. A lot of states, we can see what other state governors are actually spending in their budgets when we compare with the actual. So I believe that, and with that, citizens need to also look at, a lot of pressure to put a lot of demand on their state government.
Okay.
The challenge we have here is that the people asking for accountability, are scattered across the country. So to have them in congruence, they are only going to, put pressure on the federal government. So if maybe 5 people come together, you realize that they are not much, that they are going to call on...
So since we are talking about...
information regarding somebody's state.
My apologies, Mr. Umar, for breaking in again. Since we are talking about redistribution of wealth. Mr. Eze, maybe we should also be talking about redistribution of responsibilities. Let the state governments themselves smell the coffee, come out to be counted, and take deliberate responsibilities. What roles are there right now for state governments? I know that, of course, as I said, Niger state government is thinking in a particular direction. I also know that Lagos state government is also collaborating with some states in terms of food production, I think rice, to be specific. What roles are there for the states to help bring down the cost of food in particular?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think states have a duty to ensure that since our people are agrarian in nature, that a lot of farming will be taking place. They should establish storage facilities and provide implements, seeds, fertilizers. And it's high time they call even their own citizens to a meeting to discuss, to have a conversation on how to move forward. Because if people are dependent on listening to only radio stations, what are announced in radio stations, the times we have found ourselves, that wouldn't be enough. There is need for conversation. And people outside the government, daily management should give their opinions, and the state governors should take steps to ensure, especially now that we're approaching the rainy season. So it will be good for us to continue to do things the way we've been doing it and expect different results. Definitely it will not be so. And to expect to pay a civil servant 18,000 and want to pacify him is difficult to pacify hunger, because what happens in the stomach affects the mind. So I think all the states of the Federation, the subnationals, should take steps, especially considering their resolutions in the National Economic Council. They should go back and talk to their citizens and get opinions on how to improve the welfare of the people, because the protests we are seeing here and there, we shouldn't allow such situations to snowball to a point whereby we'll be inviting security agencies, because hungry people, it will be difficult to use security on them successfully.
Absolutely.
The best security is food security. And everything that should be done to ensure food security in the subnationals should be done right away, so that we will not get to that situation that will become unsustainable.
Okay.
And quick fixes may not be sufficient. So
yeah, but then
we do things that
perhaps the challenge here, Mr. Eze, yes, perhaps the challenge here is what are we even telling people? Mr. Okwefa, beg your pardon, Dr. Okwefa, how should we be communicating to people to build trust? Mr. Omar mentioned that earlier, and this will be the final conversation, question on this matter. How should government be communicating, not just throwing information out, communicating with people, engaging people? There is a lot of displeasure and distrust and tension in the nation right now. State governments hardly say anything, and everyone is pointing at the federal government, mentioning the president, and that's been our history down through the ages. It's always the president, never the governors, never the administrators of the states. What kind of conversation should we be having? How and who should be communicating with the people, engaging with the people to build trust, to calm nerves?
First is to say that all arms of government, both federal, state, and the local government, on the part of the federal government, the communication should continue as it's going. The National Orientation Agency should step up and do more. Then the National Economic Council, as a chief already said, they need to get more serious. It shouldn't be until the president of the country sits with them and they now start rolling out those issues. And the president was specific in his statement about 4 or 5 days ago to the governors and to the subnational leadership. They need to deliver on their mandate. So the conversation should be the state government should start holding stakeholders engagement, non-flamboyant engagement. Stakeholder engagement with farmers, traders, manufacturers, and civil society, to make them understand what is the actual situation. Knowledge is power. Then at the level of the local government, before I go to the local government, the state government should also publish what goes to the local government. Just like the federal government is publishing what goes to the state government. The state government should publish what they release to the local government so that we know the state governments that are keeping local government resources. So if the local government have enough resources, they too will engage in stakeholder engagements and all these stuff. Then the media must use the right language. Every time you talk of security situation in Nigeria, it's always insecurity. You never hear security. See, the semantics and the polemics of what we dish out also is very critical. So we cannot say less on communication. It must be strategic, it must be targeted, and it must be specific to specific people.
Okay.
And we must also invest in our education.
Okay. Mr. Omar, same question. How do we engage the people so that we can, because thankfully you are the one that began the conversation about building trust. What do we need to do?
On the conversation of building trust, we actually need to do a lot, and we have a lot of work to do. The trust is emanating from the consistent and persistent failure of government to deliver on what they promise. I think last week I was discussing with the worker, particularly, the citizens look at the federal and state as just the same thing. The federal government promised to pay, is it 35,000 palliative or something, while some workers are complaining that such amount was not paid. So this persistent failure to deliver what you have promised or approved to do, it's what makes the situation dire. But then, if we want to curtail it, the first thing to do is we work with the National Orientation Agency. That's the first thing. Two, we try to have, a centralized information dissemination. Because, the issue of fake news and politics really distort with how we consume information. And these are some of the issues that we, continuously have. When somebody was given wrong information 1, 2, 3 times, at the end of the day, he will just get fed up. Even if the accurate information comes in, he tends to have a misbelief. But which means the citizens also need to do their own homework. We need to rise up to demand for explanation and information from that government. Sometimes we have to go extra mile to do our due diligence to make sure that what is happening is actually right. And then to give ourselves the chance also to ask for more to be done from the government. I can tell you that, if you remove the social media and the, traditional media that we have, a lot of people, a lot of citizens scattered across remote areas are not very much aware of a lot of dynamics happening. And this constitutes a lot of gap in, trying to get the trust of the people. They are only, at that time, when election comes, they will just tell them whatever they want to tell them and sell a narrative. And that's what they believe, because a lot of people in the remote area do not have luxury of accessing information online or to how to verify information.
Which is
we need to do a lot.
Yes.
That's where education comes into play.
Absolutely, which is actually quite disturbing, because if they don't have the information, they are left to fill in the gaps by themselves. Now, Mr. Eze, perhaps that's the question that I want to ask you. How do we block the communication leakages? Because unless people have the authentic information, and as we say, nature abhors vacuum, they will fill it with anything. How do we ensure that people get the right interpretation of the information available to them?
All right, thank you. When it gets to personal information, you ask, there is a question I used to ask myself. How do politicians get the network with which they campaign to people? When it comes to campaigns, politicians go to remote villages, they pass on information to them, they paste posters, they get in contact with the traditional rulers, the religious leaders. So I think now it has come to governance. Let us replicate the way we operated during the campaigns. Let's deal with the traditional rulers, with the religious leaders. These people sit with the masses on a daily basis. So by the time we deal with those outside the tiers of local government, state government, federal government. By the time we communicate with them, definitely the message we pass will trickle down. So I think we know how to communicate if we really want to communicate. But in many states, if you check the radio stations, they sing the praises of those in power 98%. So if they really want to communicate to the people, they have to do a mix. You reduce the time you spend in praising people because even in many states, people are tired of listening to radio stations. So we need to change the information dynamics and perhaps try something new, the way we used during the campaigns, to communicate to all strata of the people. So I think people are, and when people are hungry, they don't care about the information you give. They just want to eat. So those things, look at Arab countries. Many of them are still practicing monarchies. They are not practicing democracy. But many people in their countries are comfortable. When people are comfortable, even the fake news, they will challenge you. If you give them fake news, they will challenge you. So when we make the economy to be vibrant and people can eat and people can train their children comfortably, especially we need to make education substantially free if we want to communicate. When people are more educated, communication becomes easier. But if people are not educated, it will be difficult for them to receive the right signals by way of communication. So education is part of the communication process.
Absolutely.
Reaching the people through the traditional media and otherwise still constitutes part of the communication.
I have to thank you, gentlemen, this morning because the kind of communication we've had, the kind of understanding that people have now, I hope, will help to at least set some things in place to let everyone know that this is not because of one individual or the other. It's a collective thing and every one of us has to be a part of it. Chukwuemeka Eze, lecturer, Prime University, Abuja, and member, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. Thank you for joining us, along with Abubakar Umar, financial analyst and economic expert, as well as Dr. Kayode Okpefa, Executive Director, Center for Sustainable Mobility and Access Development. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation this morning.
Thank you.
So, we flip to the next conversation that I told us about the other time. What are the roles of local governments? In the meantime, get a sip of water.
We are passionate about two things in Nigeria. The first is football. The second is our rice. And nobody celebrates like a Nigerian. So, for every goal scored, every mark made, you can be sure to always come back home to rice. Celebrate with Nigerian Premium Big Bull Rice, homegrown just like you. Big Bull Rice, tasty rice, nourished you.
In a key announcement today, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, has scheduled the first ever public wealth management conference in Nigeria, themed Championing Nigeria's Economic Prosperity, to outline MOFI's strategic approach to optimizing public wealth and enhancing investment returns. Date, February 20th, 2024. Registration starts at 8 a.m. Events proper, 9 a.m. Venue, the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. The conference will foster discussions on collaboration with ministries, departments, and agencies for improved asset management. For more information on the conference and registration details, please visit MOFI's official website at www.mofi.com.ng.
Hello, my bro. Man, the rain is so heavy here. And there's so much traffic. I think we should postpone, huh?
Not a chance. Aisha.
We don't quit, guys. I'll be there.
Done.
2 files received.
I'm on my way. Take first right in 50 meters and you're there.
Copy that. Aisha, where are you?
Guess where?
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Move.
gentlemen, welcome to Runway X.
The future of fashion showcasing.
Very impressive. How did you pull that off?
With Nigeria's top tech talents.
And Globe.
Power your relentless ambition with ultra-high-speed data. Glow with Tide.
In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when our nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, for pure love.
Wherever you go, Terra Marshall. Whatever you do, Terra Marshall. Your time done they gone. Your beats done they done. You think say God in order for your side, and you want to find another way to prosper. You think say God in order just get your time. I beauty well, ilere tolo shey.
Irete mi, come on me, Irete mi, come on me, Baba mi she, koma kojami. Baba mi she, Baba, koma kojami.
Koma kojami
Ay masiko loga mueda o. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa. Ay masiko loga mueda o. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa.
Àní ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, yóò lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, lọ́wọ́. Àní ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, lọ́wọ́ Olúwa, lọ́wọ́.
Kí ni gbẹ́dọ́gbẹ́dọ́ fẹ́ fi kí ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ gbé? Kí látẹ́gùn fẹ́ fi gi gẹdú ṣe? Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa ló wà. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa ló wà.
Ìrètí mi kò máa ní kọjá mi o.
Ọ̀rọ̀ mi lọ́wọ́ Olúwa ló wà.
Let's talk about the roles of local governments. Well, just for you to know, it is enshrined in the Constitution, 4th schedule, I think. Now, the structure of the local government's system in Nigeria is part of the federalism, which means power is shared between the levels of government, the federal, state, and local government level. Nigeria has 774 local government councils, but then I know there are quite a number of local council development areas in various parts of the nation, Lagos, Kano, you name it. Now, of course, each local government administration is headed by a chairman, a vice chairman, and elected councillors, you know, from the various wards. What are their functions? What do they do? How should their functions affect the issue of security? How has it always been? What are the gaps that the local government can fill in the areas of the challenges, in areas in Nigeria in which we are seriously challenged now? We have with us this morning the national president of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, with us this morning. He is also a member of the council. Let me get that right. He's a local government chairman as well, with us this morning. He is a member of the just 1 second, I got that right earlier. He's chairman of Argon. He's chairman of Argon in Lagos State as well. He is also a board member, Commonwealth of Local Governments. He's executive member, United Cities and LGs of Africa. He's chairman, Conference 57. He's chairman also of Bariga Local Council. Mr. Kolade Alabi joins us this morning. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate it. But let's begin with this troubling issue of, first of all, do you think people, Nigerians, understand the functions or the purpose of the local government system in the country?
To answer your question, like you rightly pointed out, that the function of local governments are detailed in the Nigerian constitutions, and it has a beginning, doesn't have an ending, because if you look at that fourth schedule to that constitution, it specified that other functions will be conferred for the local government by the State House of Assembly. So that means that we have a whole lot of functions to carry out as a local government chairman.
Okay, go ahead. No, the question I'm asking is, do you think people, Nigerians, understand the functions of the local government administration in Lagos, in Nigeria?
It is yes and no. To some, they understand the function, but to others, they don't understand the function. Why it is so is that the local government are not treated as state actors. So a lot of people didn't even know the functions of local government until they pick the constitution to read the functions of local government. So what we need to do is to begin, like we have started to engage and ask for the autonomy of local government, so that when the local government are autonomous, a lot of people will be aware of the functions and all the things that are begging and yearning for the attention of local government that will be delivered to the people of various states.
Okay, so perhaps does that also explain why it seems like when local government elections are taking place, people don't, well, there is that understanding, general assumption that people don't come out because as far as they're concerned, it's just one of those things, it's already been decided. And so people don't seem to come out, even from INEC records.
The truth of this is that there are general apathy to elections in Nigeria, not only local government elections. You have seen state elections, you have seen federal elections that people will not even troop out. So there are apathy to elections. So it is not only restricted to local government elections.
Okay. All right. Let's talk to some of these functions that we talked about. There are those security agencies, security consultants, security experts all over the nation from time to time when we engage them tell us that this whole issue of insecurity is exacerbated mainly, well, maybe mainly or partly, you may or may not agree, to the fact that local government administrations are not allowed by the state governments across the nation to function optimally, because they also believe that local governments have their own security councils as well, and that if they were allowed to function and are funded as they should be funded, that the security issues that are arising from time to time will not be as serious as they are now. What's your comment? What's your response to that?
Yeah, but you see, what we have done, your question has two and three issues that you have raised. You have raised the issue of security, you have raised the issue of funding, and you have also raised the issue of not allowing the local government to handle security. I know it will be very difficult for me to navigate out of this, but let me just say this. I'll start from the security aspect of it. The security aspect of it is this. Local government are the only government that I think, that I know, that can tackle security challenges that we are faced with in this country. And there's no security challenge that we face or any crime that emanates in anywhere that does not emanate from the grassroots. So if you have a local government at the grassroots, and it should be the only person that can undo that and escalate that. Now, the president, in his wisdom, in his last meeting with the governor, has just given a nod for state police. And that is the way to go. We at our own level, we've been clamoring for this in the last 2 years. We went to the National Assembly, we submitted our position paper that we need community policing. But what they have given us now is state policing. But we should need to go down, to trickle it down to community policing. And that's what we solve the security challenges that we are faced with in this country. So what I mean in essence is we have to change our approach from top-down approach to bottom-up approach. So you can solve the problem from bottom to top. You can't solve the security challenge from top down. Can only be done from bottom top. And that's the way to go.
Please, for better understanding, Mr. Alabi, help Nigerians understand how a security, or for want of a better word, a security system, committee, maybe a security committee of a local government is structured.
Yeah, at the local government level, you have the DPO. So all the chairmen work in tandem with the DPOs. That is the person that is saddled with the security in that local government. So they are the closest. So, and of course, we have what we call peace and security meetings. And of course, which, because the thing has been long, and we need also to review that. Honestly, we need to review the security architecture of local government. Yes, we have peace and security meeting, which have the DPO of that local government as a member and chairman as the chairman of that committee. So what we are saying in essence is that if we have that at the local government level, what we need to do is to bring that down to the local government and start the policing of the community from the grassroots, since we have that already. But it's not functioning.
Why is that not functioning?
A lot of factors. And I know for fact that there's a lot of engagement in that regard. It's ranging from funding and all other things. So police are also not funded to do that. And the money that is available to local government is not enough to put into security.
We also understand, Mr. Alabi, that the 774 local government areas in Nigeria have one intelligence officer or the other stationed there. We know, as you have said, we have the police there. We also know that in every local government there are community development associations. We know that there are traditional rulers. Do these spots of authorities, do they have any responsibility in the mix?
Yeah, they have responsibility. They are all the people that you just mentioned are all members of the peace and security mission at the local government level. But what can they do in the absence of funding, in the absence of the deficit of equipment, and that is available for the police at the local government level? So what I'm saying in essence is that yes, we have all these things at the local government level, but we lack all these things to handle the enormous challenges that we are faced with in terms of security at that level.
Well, you also said that part of the functions of the local government administrations are the houses of assembly. Is it the responsibility of the houses of assembly of a state to fund the local governments to draw, funding from that joint allocation, joint state and local government accounts, or is that of the governor? Who supervises that pot of money, so to speak, that's supposed to come straight to the local government administrations?
No, we have what we call local government and state joint account, where the money from the federal allocation gets into, and from there it goes to various local governments. So the only functions that the the House of Assembly of all states carried out is the oversight function, and also to make a law or confer other functions on the local government by the House of Assembly. So it is not their responsibility to give local government fund.
Okay. Well, there are those who believe that, as you said, there are those who believe that it's the governors of each state, and I know that this might be a little tricky for you, but it needs to be asked. There are those who believe that that the governors of each state corner the funding that is supposed to come to local government administrations. Is there any semblance of truth in that allusion at all?
And I'll start from Lagos. Right from the time the present president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who was the governor of Lagos State. It is the gauntlet that is true that all the succeeding governors in Lagos State are keyed into by not touching the local government funds. So I would say for Lagos, our funds are not being touched by the governor. And I can also speak for some other states. I can mention Delta, I mentioned Kaduna, Dolina Rufai, don't touch their fund. And maybe Jigawa and few states. So that I can say. In Lagos, as of few states, yes, our money has not been tampered with.
But then
so yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Alabi.
Yes, other states that I will not want to use your word of being cornered. So I don't understand what you meant by cornered. So I won't go by that word.
Well, essentially that word is just saying that the governors do not give the monies that are supposed to go straight to the local governments to them. But you have said that in Lagos and a few other states that's not the case.
And can you say that again, please?
I said that essentially I'm saying that there are those who believe that the state governors in a number of states do not give the monies that are supposed to go to the local governments to them. And that's why I used that term. But if the state governments, some of these state governments that you talk about, get the funding that is due to them, how come then that we still have the challenges of funding for some of their activities, some of their constitutional functions?
Let me also say this to you. At the local government level, they are of the opinion money that is being given to the local government are not enough to use for all the problems that I got it. So we want more, because if you go to the fourth schedule that confer a lot of functions on the local government, and that function also will include development of agriculture and natural resources, other than exploitation of minerals. It also will include provision and maintenance of primary and adult vocational education, as well as maintenance of healthcare, all the PACs in all local government. So if you look at all these elements that I've just rolled out, you will agree with me that the 20.6% of the allocation that is allocated to local government won't be enough to tackle all our problems. You also know that right now there are negotiations on the increase in the minimum wage. So we are saddled with the responsibility of paying the teachers' salaries and the local government staff salaries. So if you look at that, you will agree with me that 20.6% is not enough. So we have clamored for that. We have submitted our position paper that it should be changed, should be added, it should go to about 30 to 35%, so that local government can function optimally.
But even then, I mean, the percentage is one thing. The amount of money that also comes to government the local government has since increased, since this government came in with the removal of fuel subsidy. A lot more money is now being shared between the federal, state, and local governments. Is that of any significance? Has the local government administrations begun to feel that increase as well?
Let me also say this. A lot of people read and said that, okay, there's increase in the local government. But yes, I agree with you, there's increase. And the increase are also used to cover the deficiencies that we are having. So we don't have enough funds. And when the funds are increased, and that fund will also be used judiciously to attend to all other areas that have been denied. All our inner roads are in a state of disrepair. We have a deficit of roads at the local government level. We have deficit of primary healthcare centers. So the so-called increase will not even be enough to attend to this. A lot of people, there's a public outcry that local governments are not functioning. So how can you function in the midst of scarcity of funds? You can't. So the money that is available are used for a whole lot of things, and they are deficit to cover. So this increase has covered some of these deficits that are in the local government system.
So is it safe to say then, Mr. Alabi, that some of these things that you just mentioned, dilapidated infrastructure, substandard roads and all those things, do they in any way feed into insecurity? Do they contribute to insecurity? Do they contribute to the challenges of food production and mobility of food production or food produce from the farms to the cities? How significantly do they contribute?
Of course, yes. If you have good roads that leads to the market, so it will reduce the travel time, and it will allow a lot of people to ply that road to go to their market, and it will enhance the economic development of that local government. So it is important. And for security, if you want to chase a criminal, how can you get that criminal when you have a bad road, when you don't have link road? So our roads have to be motorable. Our roads have to link to one another. And this, of course, will reduce, like I said, the travel time, the steer and wear that you have on your vehicles. It will reduce that if you have a good motorable road. And we have good examples of countries that have that.
There is this new clamor now for state police, and experts are talking about not just state police, but local government police as well. There are those who would reference, we had a guest on earlier in the week, who would reference the local government police of the First Republic. Is that something you think should also be, is that something that Algon is thinking about joining in the call for?
Yes, like I said, we have submitted our proposal 2 years ago, not even on state police, but on community policing, because that's the way to go. Like let me say this without any fear of contradiction, that the future of this world lies on the local government, and that's the future, and that's the way to go. So if you go to other times, it is the local government that are saddled with that responsibility. And that is why you don't have security challenges. Morocco is 110% crime-free. And because of the bottom-top approach they adopted in tackling their security, it's 110% crime-free. So we have been in the front burner of this. And I thank the president, like I said in my earlier remark, for bringing about state police. So, but it still has to trickle down. So we have options to choose between vertical and horizontal. So if it is horizontal, fine. But if it is vertical, it must trickle down. And when it's trickled down, it should trickle down and also trickle up. And that's the way it should be. So I'm not saying that, it should be all bottom up. So we also have issues that has to be top down. So we should have a mixture of the two. And let me also say this. The world now is moving toward localizing their global gateways. So I was in Brussels, in Committee of Regions and the European Parliament. And that's what they are clamoring for now, is localizing global gateway. And in localizing global gateway, it means that we are going to localize communities. They are not even talking about local authority anymore. They are talking about communities. So we are still discussing on local government. But a lot of countries in the world have gone beyond local government. They've now come down to communities. Because that's the way to go. It is community that will solve any problem that we think that we are faced with in this country. So we have to begin to do a critical engagement with communities.
One last one, and if you can do this in about 60 to 90 seconds. Every legislator, federal or state, is from a local government, is from a subset of a local government, in fact. What should be the political communication with them so that they can develop the localities where they go to campaign for elections before they go to whether the State House of Assembly or even the National Assembly?
I believe that the local government, the State House of Assembly, the National Assembly, we should bring ourselves together under one roof and engage and communicate together. So we are all working at cross purposes. So we have to come together, irrespective of the party that we belong to, and engage ourselves in critical thinking on how to further develop our local and state and the federal. And that's the way to go.
Absolutely. We have to thank you very much this morning for being a part of our conversation today. Mr. Kolade Alabi is the chairman, national president of the National Association of Local Governments of Nigeria. Thank you again for your time and all the best at all times.
You are welcome.
Yeah. So, the next conversation we want to have is about World Pangolin Day. Get a cup of water yourself.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. One cube, endless possibilities.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of a family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
taste.
What have you done to me? I don't know. Yeah. What have you done to me? I don't know. Believe me, believe me, believe me. It has to be you. I need you. I need you for my family. Believe me. Believe me, it has to be you. I need you. I need you for my family. It must be you. It must be you. Family. I need you. I need you for my family. It must be you. It must be you. Family. I need you. I need you for my family. Oh baby, oh. Been in love with you for days. Done day with you for so long. Show more. I'm crazy, oh. Girl, I'm crazy over you. Now waiting man go do to make you know. Waiting you won't believe if you don't believe me. I will not deceive, do not deceive me. And my love go past the love you give me. If I follow your hand, I beg to leave. Waiting you won't believe if you don't believe me. I will not deceive, do not deceive me. And my love go past the love you give me. If I follow your hand, I beg to leave me. Baby, 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 what have you done to me? I don't know.
Papa, what is wrong? I thought I heard something. Good night.
Yeah, hello. Have you got your own refill? Yes, water. Just wanted you to hold on for a bit. Let's talk about World Pangolin Day. Pangolins are thought to be the most trafficked animals in the world, mammals in the world, actually, snatched from the wild due to demand for their scales, which are mistakenly thought to have medicinal properties in traditional medicine. All 8 species of pangolin are at risk, 6 at imminent threat of extinction. These shy, fascinating creatures are the only mammals which are covered in scales. When they are scared, they roll into a ball, effective against natural predators, but easy picking for poachers. So World Pangolin Day is observed around the globe on the 3rd Saturday of every February to celebrate the scaly-skinned mammals that help keep our planet healthy and to also try to ensure that they do not go extinct. Let's converse this morning with Desmond Majakodumi, who is an environmentalist and founder of Fasi Park. Thank you for joining us this morning, Mr. Majakodumi.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. Well, we've done this quite a few times. How far would you say we have even gone in ensuring the needful so that these pangolins don't go extinct?
We have done a lot of movement over the last 2 years, especially with the customs officers now. We're very, very impressed with what they're doing because they have been quite diligent. Nigeria had become a major hub for these pangolin scales and also other things like the ivory from the elephants, coming in from other countries, but also from our country. And they've been seizing a lot of them. And recently, they just burnt a whole bunch of them, destroyed them. So there's no longer any way of those scales or ivory being released. So yes, recently we're seeing some very, very positive developments. But my brother, it's not enough. You mentioned a word there in your introduction, and you said that many of the species are going extinct. Extinct. Okay, to my limited understanding of the language, it means if it's extinct, it's gone forever. So the question we have to now ask ourselves is how is it that we can be part of a process that will be destroying forever a particular species that we never had the capability and will never have the capacity to create? How can we justify driving a species, a wonderful, wonderful aspect of this incredible miracle of creation, into extinction? That's a very serious word, extinction. How dare we? How dare we?
You know, the question that I asked, was how much we're doing, how well would you say we're doing to ensure that that extinction doesn't happen? Interestingly, pangolins are not the only ones at that risk. Even human languages are, and some have gone extinct. Children only read about dinosaurs and tyrannosaurs and all of that in books. Whether or not it ever existed, left to the imagination, some would say. But in terms of our movement, last year alone, Nigerian customs officials seized 1,613 tons of pangolin scales and arrested 14 people. Nigeria's that's according to our Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency. Would you say, from your understanding, that is significant deterrence?
It is a beginning of the process of creating a significant deterrence in terms of what it used to be in the past. Because there's a reason why Nigeria now became a hub for the export of these pangolin scales and the ivory and so on. It's because of the lackadaisical attitude that was adopted to them. So it is actually very, very encouraging, but it's just a little step in the right direction. And it's possibly coming because, there's obviously a clear lack of understanding, not just amongst Nigerians, not just amongst the Chinese, who are the main buyers of the pangolin scale, because they use it for all kinds of so-called medicinal purposes, which is totally unfounded, based on ignorance, because the scale is actually made from carotene. It's carotene, the same ingredient as your fingernail. But so it's not just the Chinese or the Nigerians, but globally, there's a lack of understanding of the implications of driving species into extinction. Like you rightly said, in days gone by, thousands of eons ago, certain species did go into extinction, but it was in a very slow pattern. It would have taken, hundreds of thousands of years. Never before, through the examination of geology and so on, have we seen such a rapid extinction of species. And it's not just the pangolin. There are many other species that are critical, like the vulture, so many other species that are so important. These are part of the web of life. Okay? And you take out a strand of a web and another strand, the web might still be there. But eventually, you will now remove one strand and the whole web starts to collapse. And this is what we are on the verge of doing to this incredible, miraculous web of life that gives us our life support, that gives this planet the unique position of being probably the only one, at least the only one that we've been able to observe out of millions of planets, that has the capacity to support life. We're treading on very dangerous territory. And interestingly, my brother, the pangolin issue, it typifies several things. One of the things it typifies is the incredible, intricate, what I call miraculous system that has been put in place in this planet. Because the pangolin has a role. The pangolin has a very long tongue. The tongue is about half as long as its whole body. And its major role is to predate on ants and termites. Okay? It controls the population of the ants and termites. And those ants and termites are playing a very important role in breaking down biological matter so it can go into its chemical form as nutrients for the plants. And the pangolin also does a lot of aerating because it digs into the soil and so on. So it has several functions that are in complete harmony with nature and complete harmony. And also, it only has, one or two offspring every year. So it doesn't over-predate on the ants. So, yeah, that's one of the things that it typifies.
I would want you to expatiate a little further on that function, because I was going to ask you that next. What are the functions of the pangolin in nature? I'm asking because, for instance, some just hearing the description, it curls into a ball when it is threatened, but it is not insulated from poachers. And so many of these poachers, of course, human beings, may just see them as, okay, just one of those things, and then they pick them without knowing that they are inflicting self-harm by not knowing the functions of that pangolin whose scales they are picking and killing, as a result. What are the harm we do ourselves when we take out these pangolins without knowing?
This is a very fundamental question, and I'm glad you brought it up, my brother, because we need to get that awareness out there. The harm that we are doing by destroying this incredible creature, which, it's only protection, as you said. It rolls up into this ball, but because the scales are very strong, there's very few animals that can actually crush the scales. So it is quite safe. It doesn't attack other animals, but it is controlling the population of the termites. You must have seen in the course of your life many times when the termites will now attack a piece of wood and the wood almost disintegrates. That's what termites are there for. Again, another one of those creatures that are part of the incredible, miraculous, and we're going to get back to why I'm using that word, miraculous web of life, because those termites and other insects like that, they break down the biomatter. When you break it down, it now goes into the soil. The various chemicals can come out of it, and those chemicals that come out of it act as a natural organic fertilizer for other plants to grow. So the termites are doing a very important role. But if you have too many termites, they will overdo the whole thing. And what the pangolin does, this wonderful, incredible creature who has enough sensitivity to even carry its young on its back like that, and walk along, what the pangolin does, it controls that population of the termite. But again, the miracle of nature coming in. If pangolins had too many offspring, maybe like 5 or 10, like some other type of rodents do, then there will be too much predation on the termites. So you have too few termites. Balance. It is balance. So the harm that we're doing by wiping out these creatures because we want to just make some money from the scale, which is just out of pure ignorance anyway, because the scale is keratin. So if you want the keratin, you may as well just chew your fingernails. Or if you want keratin, I will be cutting my fingernails and my toenails, and I'll send them to whoever wants to eat the keratin. They can eat my toenails, rather than eating the pangolin scale. So that's the harm we're doing to the environment, which again, remember, the environment is our life support system, and it's our children's life support system. And we are threatening it. We've reached a critical stage, wiping out species and driving many, many species to the brink of extinction far more rapidly than has ever been recorded. So that's the physical. But then, if we want to look at the metaphysical, we are also going against the complete injunctions of all the major scriptures that tell us very clearly that we are gardeners, we are keepers of this earth, that we are here to replenish the earth. And it's one of the most logical injunctions because we're replenishing, again, our life support system. So maintaining the population of the pangolins is very important. And if we are driving them into extinction, then we're going totally contrary to scriptural injunction. And that is not an expression of love of the Creator, certainly not an expression of love of our children. Their life supports.
Yeah, the one that really that's even most troubling is the fact that we're inflicting harm on ourselves without even knowing it. Unfortunately, Mr. Majakudumi, a lot of these things are seen more in the rural areas, more in the hinterlands, the farmlands, wetlands, and all of that. Do you see any significant action of the authorities to protect the environment and consequently protect these endangered species?
Well, we are just seeing a few hopeful signs. Some of the NGOs have been very, very active. The Nigerian Conservation Foundation, our Lufasi organization, and also the Wild Africa Aid Organization, they're really, really promoting the cause. But we're also seeing some hopeful signs from some of the ministries of environment. The Lagos State Ministry of Environment is certainly going gung-ho in terms of protecting the areas where these creatures do live, because it's not just us wiping them out directly, just killing them for themselves. It's also, this massive destruction of their habitats. And we're informed that there's only a couple, unfortunately, of other ministries of environment in some of the other states that seem to be quite keen now on, fulfilling their mandate, which is to preserve the environment. Again, the environment is our life support system. So we're seeing some hopeful signs there. But there was a very hopeful pronouncement by Mr. President just a few days ago to, I think at the security meeting that they had, or governor's meeting, or whatever, anyway, that the park agencies, the park rangers, park protection is going to be boosted. And this is very, very encouraging, so long as it actualizes into action as opposed to just pronouncement, because that's one of the first steps of protecting creatures like the pangolin, but also the habitats of the pangolin, which is also very important for other people. If the parks, and we do have reservations around the country, so if these parks really can be far better protected, it'll be so much of an improvement, and also even for security measures as well. So it's very, very, very much of a win-win. And definitely, Mr. President made that statement. We heard it, and we're going to shine our eye on that one to make sure that it is actualized to the hilt, to the T. It's a very, very, very important thing. So pangolin is a good representation. It's like a figurehead for us that, okay, we're going to protect this creature, but it goes way, way beyond that, because we have to also protect the habitat of the creature. And that habitat of the creature does so much for us in our environment. It helps, we're talking of the wetlands, we're talking of the savannas. It helps so much, even to fight climate change, which again is a huge issue. So there's hope. There's good hope.
Okay, well, I can imagine you lighting up at the mention of that particular park rangers issue when the president mentioned it. Well, the president is not the only one in government. I know that you are also aware a good number of states have ministries of the environment and all, particularly, and then we also just ended a conversation around local government administrations and everything like that. So, do you see significant conversations, significant understanding, significant engagement of these levels of authority at the state levels and at the local government levels, and not just engagement, but understanding of the issues around the environment?
I do. I see it coming on, and I see it coming on in quite a dramatic way. And again, if we can go a little bit spiritual about this, because we are now seeing the actualization of, again, scriptural injunctions, particularly the injunction that God is not mocked. Whatsoever, I repeat, whatsoever you sow, shall surely reap. So those who are in position of leadership, especially in the ministries of the environment, because another name for that ministry is the ministry of our life support. So whoever is involved in those ministries in a decision-making capacity has to be very, very diligent to ensure that they do not get hit with a very negative retributive justice, because we're seeing this being poured out now. Nature herself is telling humanity, you must change your attitudes. You can no longer be driven by selfishness, by pride, by greed, to the detriment of our life support system and your children's life support system, because a retributive force is now being unleashed. And I really, really am encouraged by what I'm seeing with one or two of the state ministries, especially, as I said, in Lagos State. And it's not just the environment. Agric is doing something wonderful. Ministry of Health is doing another wonderful thing there. And these men, because they are affecting the lives of millions, that retribution would be not a negative retribution if they are affecting it positively. They'll get blessed. But if they dare to go down that road and succumb to temptation and not do what is necessary to be done to protect our life support systems, then you can be very, very sure that the retribution will be. I'm talking purely spiritual. So yeah, I'm encouraged that we're going to see some very positive changes coming about, especially in the ministry of the environment.
It sounds like you're telling them all to go fast and pray so that they do not fall prey to this retribution. Well, so many issues to discuss in this one, but then for me, the most important issue would be that of communication with the people. It's one thing to just push information out there. It's another thing entirely for people to actually understand what we are saying. And so the call for collaboration among the three tiers of government, as well as practitioners in the various sectors, is something that has to be given due attention. We have to thank you very much this morning. Mr. Desmond Majakudumi is an environmentalist and founder at Lufasi Park. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Fast and pray and do the right thing.
Okay. All right, we have another conversation coming on. Don't forget, we're in our lineup earlier, we talked about anxiety. That's up next.
A good woman who cometh from the Lord. They know they see her for market. A good woman is a blessing from above. Her type will not there for marketing. I tell you more, Yaku. One year batrako is a silver. Yano more, does Yaku. One year batrako does Yakumo. Always loving everybody, no discrimination. What I did, man, no competition. Of the Lord, everyone Yamaka, Moses in Akashukudia, everyone Yamaka, only yes in Akashukudia. A good woman who come from the Lord. Honeymoon, is a blessing from above. You will find that the wife will find that a good thing. And obtain a favor from the Lord. Blessings of the Lord. Everyone Yamaka, Moses in everyone Yamaka, only yes in a good woman who come from the Lord. nyama. Na so confusion, wahala dey. Honey more, she give her life, she give everything. She risked it all for her family. No retreating, no surrender. I know you wanna also. She put her trust in God. Oh. She is confident. She is more than a diva.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, in the middle of all of the issues happening all over the country, rising cost of living, rising prices of goods and services, difficulty, heat, yes. I'm sorry. Just needed to, I need to ram that in as much as possible. Anxiety is not far. It's safe to say everyone struggles with one mental health issue or the other from time to time, whether it's general depression, anxiety, stress-related issues, trauma, here and there. But the fact that people all over the nation are going through all kinds of things is something that should concern everyone, and that does concern us. We know for those who are in city centers. How about those who are in the villages, who may not be able to get the kind of help that they need to get by? So this morning, let's talk about identifying, tracking, and stemming anxiety. There is such a thing that medical science calls anxiety disorder. Let's have that conversation this morning with Dr. Daniel Odekunle, who is a counseling psychologist. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
People generally will just feel that anxiety, I'm just anxious. Which one is anxiety disorder again?
Okay, so when we talk about anxiety disorder, so it's actually like a group of disorders, like you have a couple of disorders, but what characterizes them is actually because of the overwhelming sense of worry and fear that people have. And it gets to a point where it becomes crippling, where their ability to function and carry out their day-to-day activities is impeded. So anxiety disorder refers to a class of disorders of mental illness that are characterized by fear and worry, which are the basic primary symptoms that characterize that particular set of disorders. And of course, you have other symptoms like palpitations, like sweating, hyperventilation, aches in the body, headache, body ache, stomach ache. Wow. You could have avoidance. You know, people begin to avoid situations that they consider threatening. And the key thing about anxiety is that the fear and worry is linked to a sense of impending danger. So there is that anticipation that there is a threat to my well-being. There is a threat to how I feel. There is a threat to, my existence or my survival. So oftentimes, it's not as if, and the threat may not necessarily be real, but it is the person's subjective interpretation of the events as a threat. And then, because the individual perceives that there is a threat, there is a danger, there is something that looks like my very existence, my survival, my progress, my well-being is going to be affected. And as such, they become afraid of that situation, they become worried. And then you begin to see that sense of worrying and thinking about different things. And of course, this could be associated to different things. So, for instance, it could be a specific phobia where somebody's afraid of a particular road. Say, for instance, somebody traveled on that road at some point in time and then had an accident. And afterwards, whenever the person sees a red car or a red bus, because the person had an accident inside a red bus on a particular road, and then anytime the person sees a red bus or is about to go on a journey and the car is red or on that particular road, the person begins to have a sense of anxiety, like, oh, we're going near that thing that cost us, that almost took our life the other time. I think we need to avoid it and all of that. So the person develops anxiety. That could be like a specific phobia. So you have people afraid of cockroaches, that's common. You have people afraid of rats, you have people afraid of bridges, heights, and stuff like that. It could be anything at all. Even people are afraid of men, people are afraid of women, or a particular tribe in some cases because of prior experience with such persons. And in some cases it could be like general, where the anxiety is not necessarily pinned to something in particular. We call that generalized anxiety disorder. So the person worries about his finances, worries about his health, worries about family, worries about several other things. And of course, you also have panic disorder. That one is quite debilitating. Not necessarily debilitating because it involves palpitations. And it's often misconstrued and misunderstood. Many of the cases I've seen personally in my own experience as a practitioner having to do with panic disorder, oftentimes they will have palpitations because of a particular situation, and then they begin to feel like I'm having a heart attack. And then because the heart beats fast because of the anxiety, the heart beats fast and it looks as if, I'm having a heart attack. So oftentimes, most of them will go to meet the medical doctor first. I actually had a personal experience like that. I had gone to meet a medical doctor. I was a student then, and I thought that I was having a heart attack, and he asked me to go and do an EEG. And then even came out that I had brachycardia, not trachycardia, meaning my heartbeat was even lower than normal. So why is my heart beating fast? Until I really realized that what happened to me was a panic attack.
Okay. So panic attack is just one of those manifestations of anxiety?
Yes, it's just like an example of an anxiety disorder.
Okay.
So you have different types of anxiety disorders.
Okay. So just to be clear and to make this relevant, this whole cost of living thing, increase in prices of this and that, house rent increase, transportation increase, how likely is it to invoke or provoke anxieties?
Yeah, very, very likely, because we're talking about survivor here, survivor. So the thing is, okay, there's inflation. Prices of commodities have gone high. There is the heat. The heat is quite intense now, right now. We all need to be carrying a bottle of water around. And, of course, the whole dollar-naira exchange, prices of the naira equivalent to dollar has gone up. And then you have similar economic, disturbance here and there, political instability and all of that, security threats in some part of the world and all of that. And then when people look at what is happening around them, and then they look at themselves, they begin to think that they don't have a chance of survival, right? They feel like their very existence, their very survivor is threatened because it looks like if the prices of things go up and I cannot have money to buy these things, how will I eat? How will my family survive? How will my children eat? What would they survive on? And then that begins to cause worry and anxiety. It could be the head of a family. He goes to work, he gets his salary, and then you come back from work and you're like, okay, what are we going to eat? And it looks like the bill, the NEPA bill, the water bill, the electricity bill, and everything is piling up. And he's wondering, how much do I earn in a month? How is my, this income going to sustain me? He begins to worry, and he begins to feel, can we survive to the next month? For a businessman who thinks about his business and he has goods and services, and then you go a month earlier to buy goods, and then it's a particular price, and you go back this month again, and then the price has gone up. And you begin to worry, how am I going to make profits? Sales are dropping because for some commodities now, the demand is falling. And then such businesses are wondering, how are we going to thrive? That leads to worry and anxiety because the constant thought is, how am I going to pay my salaries, my staff salaries? How am I going to make up for the next, supply?
And if they don't pay salaries, the staff are wondering, how are they going to come to work?
Exactly.
How are they going to meet their own basic needs?
Exactly.
So the network continues.
Exactly. So you see the constant fear. If you talk about kidnapping, for instance, people are thinking, how am I going to, I can't afford flight, Earth, whatever has got up. And it's like, okay, the other option is to go by road. But then the threat of, kidnapping, how am I going to survive that? And then you are traveling on the road. The people you leave at home are worried about you. Like, have you gotten there? Where are you now? And, so there's that constant worry. Even for the person who feels like he's doing fine, there's a security threat. Because with economic hardship, people may take to crime. You can likely see an increase in crime. In fact, it's been shown that during hotter seasons, crime goes up. So even the heat wave has, a relationship with crime. And then you have the economic hardship again, crime. So you are likely to see, an increase in crime over time. And then when that happens, even when you feel you're doing fine, your sense of security is also threatened because you're like, okay, you could be driving on the road now and then
anything could happen. Oh dear.
So you have that happening.
So how do people deal with these things? It's needless to say that generally people don't even want to think that this is their reality. Nobody wants to think that it is their reality, but it is their reality.
It's looking at us in the eye.
Exactly. So first of all, how do we identify that we are anxious?
Okay.
I'm not talking about the anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
Because one leads to the other.
Yeah.
So how does being periodically anxious lead to anxiety disorder? Maybe we should start from there.
Okay. So now, to put it also in perspective, anxiety in itself may not necessarily be a bad thing because it's the body's way of alarming us that there is a danger somewhere and we need to pay attention to that thing. So we could look at it this way. Now, but when somebody begins to get worried over time, such that your ability to carry out your day-to-day, now that's the clause, when you realize that your ability to function and carry out your day-to-day activities is already being affected. Now, you can no longer concentrate on activities like you used to. You can no longer, sleep. You're awake at night. You have body aches. You're worried. Now, you can't pay attention. You are probably at work and they're talking to you and your mind has gone. So when you discover that I can no longer pay attention to things, my sleep is already getting affected. I don't sleep well at night. A little thing, I'm startled. You find yourself constantly thinking and worrying about several things. Another thing is avoidance, which I can also put within a societal context. The thing is, this thing is a threat to me. The natural thing is I will avoid such things. And maybe if you look at it from an economic perspective, you could also explain in part the whole Jackpot syndrome. Because it's like, things seem not to be worrying. I can't deal with this. There's constant fear. The natural thing for me is to avoid.
Even though that avoiding can cost you about 20 million naira at a time.
People are willing to pay that price.
Can you imagine? Anyway, you were saying something.
So you find out that, so when you begin to find out that, you're supposed to go out for a party, you have social phobia, for instance, and you are always given an excuse about why you cannot go for that party, about why you should stay back at home and not go have. So you realize that you're avoiding situations, or whenever you approach certain situations, you just feel this restlessness, this uneasiness. You find yourself getting jittery, anxious, worried whenever you approach in a particular situation. Then that should tell you that, hey, come on, it looks like you're already getting anxious, or you're having palpitations. Your heart is drumming fast whenever you approach a situation, whenever you are to go out, whenever someone comes around, whenever they mention something in your ear, your heart just goes like a drum.
There is a natural trigger for palpitation.
Okay.
You get a sack letter. Or you get a text from maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend or that you're about to get married to. or you get some very unpleasant or depressing news. Someone is saying, you know, as the aftermath of Valentine's Day, you know, or you get a very displeasing, depressing news from a school that your child is this or something has happened and all of those things. Those are natural. We can't avoid that. Is there a way to prepare for those things so that it doesn't hit us too strongly?
Okay. Yeah, so that comes from having realistic expectations about life. One thing we all should know at least is life happens to everybody. At one point or the other, things happen to us.
It sounds like you're saying breakfast happens to everybody.
Let me put it like, life has its own challenges. And then it depends on the way we look at things, right? What you call a sack may actually be a blessing in disguise.
But I can't see the disguise. I can only see the disguise. I can't see the blessing. I mean, it's natural, isn't it? That's the only... some people, for instance, are stuck on jobs they don't want right now because half bread is better than puff puff. Sorry, it's better than none.
And do you actually know that it could actually be anxiety keeping them on that job? The fear of venturing out to do something new could actually be what is keeping them to stay on that job. It could be another form of anxiety because the brain likes what it is familiar with. Familiarity means stability, safety for the brain. So when the brain realizes that even though this thing is not comfortable, but I'm familiar with it, no surprises, I know what to expect, I know how I'm going to respond to it, let's stay there.
So if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, kind of. So instead of the person to then think, maybe I could try out my chances outside there. Maybe what I'm getting here is not the best. I could take out my chances. Because that's something anxiety does for us. Anxiety makes us to avoid taking risk. Because you are afraid that if I do that thing, something would happen.
Well, how does anyone get to the point of saying, whatever happens, there's a better way. There's an aftermath that is better. Getting there is usually a problem. It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
People would rather take flight.
Yeah, that's a natural way. But of course, if you look at it and you're like, okay, if we always do this, we won't move forward as such. So it's a shift in perspective that we need to have. So there's a need for us to have a shift in perspective.
Okay, Dr. Dekunle, let's be very, very real right now.
Okay.
Part of the information that Channels Television has been putting out in the course of the week is that last year, a bag of rice was 30,000 or so. About this time last year. This year, a bag of rice is undulating between 60 and 80,000 naira, depending on whose bag you're buying.
Yeah.
So that's a real threat, so to speak, in the face of people.
Yeah.
Transportation. About this time last year, I only needed maybe about 1,000 naira to go to wherever I needed to go to. Now, I have to prepare 3,000 naira minimum. And I still have to have some backup just in case.
Yeah.
Fuel. I only needed maybe about 10,000 naira to fill my tank. Now I have to be looking at something in the region of 30 to 35,000 naira to fill that same tank. So these are realistic issues. And guess what? The income from which to balance isn't there. There is no correlation. My cost of living is rising. My income is stagnant, and the value of that income is depreciating. So how will one not be anxious?
Yeah. So so the problems are real, and like you said, I faced this challenge myself. I used to, fill the tank 10K. So I calculated 5 days a week, 2K per day, and then all of a sudden it became 5K per day.
Oh, wow.
And then, so from 2K to what I was spending on transport, from 2,000 to 5,000 in a day. And then, so I had to make some adjustment. This bag of rice you mentioned, I remember I had to go and buy a bag of rice last year with my wife, and I know how much we bought it. And last January, I know how much I had it now. So so I understand these challenges. So one thing we talk about in psychology, so there's something we call radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is accepting things the way they are. Accepting reality. I can't fight this. this has come to say, or let me say the way we say it on the street, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change that. And I can't deny it. It's staring me in the face. Reality, this is reality. Things have changed. Things are no longer the way they used to be. But then, something is there. I can choose how I respond. This is where it comes to. Now, situations may not change, but I can choose how I respond to that situation. First is acknowledging that this is reality. I can't fight it. I can't do anything about it. So what should be my response? Then I can either choose to suffer in a way or choose to I'm not going to allow this thing to determine my state of mind. Because reality is reality. But my experience is my experience. My own subjective experience is my own experience. And I'm going to choose how I will feel even in the midst of all of this. The problems are there. I'm not denying them. They are there. But the question I ask myself is, what do I do? What are my options? What are my alternatives? So I employ a problem-solving approach. Do I need to cut down on certain things? Do I need to understand that my standard of living, maybe I have to make some adjustments? Maybe I will say no to one best for a while. Maybe if I used to shop or eat in some highbrow restaurant, maybe I have to go for a lower one. Maybe I need to make some adjustments to my life. And I need to first acknowledge that this is reality happening, but I also need to make that adjustment. I can choose. See, the thing is this. No matter what is happening, what is more important is not what is happening on the outside. It is what is happening on the inside. That is what is more important.
Okay. Now, valid as that is, and it sounds quite easy. Sounds.
I know.
Very, very easy. But some people really struggle with that reality.
Yeah.
So someone has just had a heartbreak. Coming to terms, accepting that reality.
Yeah.
Mourning that reality is a tough task.
Yeah.
At what point does anyone watching you right now need to speak to a specialist, maybe a psychologist? And I know, some of you watching right now are probably thinking psychologist. I'm not mad. Maybe you want to debunk that as well. But at what point does anyone need to speak with a specialist who can help them through this period so that they can get to that mental equilibrium again?
Yeah, so I'll pick it up from where you started about it's hard for people to take this fact, and I do understand that. Maybe it's easier for me to say because I'm a professional and I practice these things on myself. But it's okay that you also allow yourself to grieve and mourn. It's okay to grieve that, this is happening. It's okay to mourn that period. Money is not necessarily about when you lose something. You lose a job, you mourn. You lose a pet, you mourn. You lose a job, you mourn. You were jilted. You can mourn.
You lose a lifestyle, you mourn.
You can mourn it. Give yourself that opportunity to mourn, but don't stay too long in that mourning phase. So the point is, at what point do you think, this is it. I'll just give a very simple way to explain it. When you realize that you're already feeling some level of distress, and you can no longer function. You look at the things you used to do, you can't do them properly. You're at work and you keep making unforced errors. You keep making mistakes that are unforced. You keep making errors that you're on a normal day, you wouldn't make these errors. So you realize that something is happening. You're awake at night and you can't sleep. Your favorite meal is in your front and you can't eat it any longer. You don't enjoy it. The very simple things of life that you used to find joy in, you can't find joy in those things. Your heart is palpitating. You are avoiding scenarios and situations. And when you begin to notice that it's happening to you, then that should tell you that I need to seek help. And it's not a crime to seek help. It's okay to admit that, I don't have all the resources, the mental resources to deal with this thing in this moment. I need some extra help. And the job of the psychologist, it's not because you're mad. No. The job of the psychologist is to help you actually find the necessary tools, develop the necessary tools, the necessary skills that you need or require to be able to develop competency over that thing. Because I usually tell my clients, I say, my job is to help you such that you don't need me again. And that's my role, is to help you develop those competencies by providing you with information, by providing you with skills and tools that you can then use on yourself. Like, I can give an example now. So one thing I will always tell people that when you get anxious, one of the things you can do is to ground yourself. Because what happens is this. So there is something I'm looking at. It looks like a threat. I interpret it as a threat, a danger. It could be a real danger, actually. Then my brain, my mind interprets that there is a threat. So it sends an alarm through the body. So the alarm goes from my brain and my body feels the alarm. Gets the message, so my body becomes activated. So I hyperventilate, or I can't sleep well, or, my body is getting aroused, physiologically speaking. And then when that happens, so what you do need to do is to reverse the order. So it's to quell your body, is to make your body feel calm. And how can you do that? You can use controlled breathing. For instance, the American still has this formula. They call it 4-4-4-4. So you take a deep breath for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds. When you do that, it sends a new message back to your brain because now your body is breathing slowly and calmer. So it's like saying...
Your body is forcing your mind to listen, to be calm.
Exactly. So your mind then gets the message that, okay, it looks like there is nothing to be afraid of.
Sounds like you're asking us to act. Anyway.
Pretend until you said fake it until
you make it.
Exactly. So fake it till your body gets the message.
Oh dear.
And it returns back to a state of, calmness.
Let's hope you get that message this morning because, see, at the end of the day, we're all in this together. It's just one nation and one people. We're all in this together. So this conversation this morning is to let you know that, look, one way or the other, there is an automatic response in your body system that is likely to affect your health if you don't pay attention to it. Dr. Daniel Odekunle, clinical counseling psychologist, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Okay. I'm taking another water. They say you should act. Okay. Let's talk about that for our home stretch on the Artist of the Week. Stay with us.
For Obi now. Hell no! It's only 16 days late. That doesn't mean I'm pregnant, right?
Well, you still, you need to do a test.
There's no need for a pregnancy test. We use protection.
Happy birthday! Come on, why's your face like that? Give me a hug. Come on, happy birthday, baby. I brought you cake. Thanks. Come on, you're excited to see me. You can't be so sure until you do a test,
Hey, come on, Oh, goodness. What's going on? I'm sure that Obi Nan is shenanigans, and I don't have mood for that this morning.
Boy, juice.
Buddy.
Oh, I knew the date was familiar. 11th. Anyway, happy birthday, Obi Nan.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your day, but please keep it down.
Imade, so I'll be having a games night to celebrate my baby's birthday this evening.
Wait, like a party?
Yes, baby, a party.
Look, baby.
Oh, shh, come on. Don't worry, you love it, trust me. Okay? As I was saying, Imade, I would like you to be there, you and your friend. And it's going to be happening right here in this living room. What? Sounds cool, right? Oh, we'll be there. Sorry, we'll be here. Sure, we will definitely be there. Thank you, guys. Happy birthday. Calm down, Imade.
He's going to bring all his junky friends and be smoking within my house. I just wish I had the money to refund Obinna his rent, I swear.
Relax, calm down. It's his birthday, cut him some slack.
Whose side are you on?
Whose side, of course. When you're behaving, someone would think that you're a bitter-ass bitch.
I don't care.
Relax. We are getting angry. Are you sure this is like pregnancy hormone signs, though?
I have told you, Joy, I am not pregnant.
Okay. Relax.
Wahala Villa Naija problems, you know they finish. Where money day, na there you go see me. Off Saba Radar, Saba.
Thank you for staying with us. Our conversation this morning, I don't know which face you can see consistently there. Well, our artist of the week is an actress and is a model. And I don't know whether she has started presenting yet, but please welcome Mary Jane Tiwema Ogu. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so
this morning.
much. Thank you.
Do you also present?
I'm looking into it.
You're getting into it? How are you this morning?
I'm awesome. Thank you.
Tell us, where did all this acting thing start for you? Was it part of the plan or was it an accidental thing like some people?
No, it has always been part of the plan. Okay. I've always wanted to... Media, generally, acting, entertainment, showbiz. Growing up, I was actually inspired by my godfather. I'll call him my baptismal dad. He was a journalist with the aviation. So I always watched him go to the airport. It was very fascinating for me, you know. He also wanted me to work there, but growing up, I had so much drama. You know, I'll just watch TV and see how people behave. I always also do same. I'm like, okay, I can actually do this. I went to church and started drama units, and it was really fun for me. So I just developed interest in it. Following him to work, doing drama. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and, you know, just act, hello, hi, okay, all this kind of stuff. And I just developed it, and I went to school. I studied theater and media arts. Yeah, and here I am.
You know, I can just imagine your daughter somewhere, just standing in front of the mirror and doing exactly the same thing. You will now be seeing yourself.
It will be awesome.
It will be awesome, right?
Yes.
So, where did you cut your teeth then, professionally?
I would say the year for me was professional, 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2017. I started as a commercial model first, and I started acting.
Okay. And which was your first?
Soft work. I think so.
I can only remember a song by that title right now.
Yeah.
So, and how is, quote unquote, Nollywood? There are those who have the general phobia, general palpitation, petrification, if I dare say, about getting into acting in Nigeria. That there are some kinds of things that have to happen between one producer or director and all those things. How true are those things?
Wow. For me, I would say Nollywood is growing, it's evolving. It's not like before. Yes, I have experienced what you're trying to say before.
Okay.
I have, and thank God for women and men now who produce and direct and give you jobs for what you do. If you can get it, they give you the role. Not like, oh, okay, I want you to act, come to my room or come to my office. No, these days, people give you job based on what you can do.
I'm sorry. So you mean those things are not rumors?
I have been a victim of that before. And that's like a topic for another day. Yes, it happens. Yeah. So I wouldn't... It does happen. I have been a victim of that.
And what... Is there a reporting line? Is there... I'm trying not to, sound embarrassing here.
That's fine.
Is there a way to report that thing to some industry experts and
of
say...
Of course. I've seen people who call people out that do those kind of things to them. They call maybe the directors or the producers out. And people say into it. But sometimes it's just, they just talk. They just, call out. That's the best they can do. And young actors who are coming, know that this person can be that petty or is a perv, so they won't want to do too much. And as an actor, if you know your ground and know what you stand for, if they come to you and do that, you can actually challenge them. Yeah, they might say, I'm not going to give you a job. I'm not going to give you, are you God? I have my talent. My talent is going to pay well for me. And yeah, you just go about it.
So how does an actor or actress, I dare say that this thing is not happening to just one gender, right?
Huh?
Oh, men also get harassed?
Yes, to my knowledge, I think so.
Well, you're not a man, I may not be able
yes,
to ask
I will not
you,
be, yeah.
it does happen to the male gender as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank God I'm not an actor. But, speak to, this, because if we don't protect the industry is in jeopardy, all on its own. So you said there has been some progress. Can you say, sitting here right now, that we have completely transited from that experience you had until now?
From my own knowledge, I would say yes, because, like I said, Nollywood is growing. It's not like then when limited people who has like some productions and everybody goes to that particular director or producers. But now you can see I would say, okay, if I produce my movie, I'm also a producer. Everybody produces now. Everybody is into one thing or the other. They're content creators. So you cannot put those kind of people in a space or tell them, oh, until you do this, until you do that, because there are things that a lot of things happening now. So I would say, and women too, there are women directors, women producers, that are giving people jobs based on their capacity. If you fit in and you're good for the job, they give it to you. So yeah, things are better now than before.
I'm sorry, I'm really struggling not to try to embarrass you, but there are those who would also say, movie directors, movie producers, even people in the society would say, such victims are sometimes, it's because they are desperate to get into fame that they fall victim. What would you say to them?
I know the angle you were coming from. Like I always say to myself, I just need talent and God. I don't need, some people say, permit my words, I'm not a type that leak asses. If it's not working, it's not working. As far as I'm good, I'll get there, just gradually. But some people, I think I would say low self-esteem. They don't believe in their talent. They don't believe in themselves that they can do better. Maybe they're looking for someone else's acknowledgement to be better. Oh, some people fix their bodies for that. I have had people who say, oh, I need to go do my body so the directors can give me some kind of roles. Oh, I need to go do this so the director can give me this. And some people, yes, they are actually desperate to work with some producer or director so they can go the extreme, which is fine by them. Why some people will just go the normal route and they are good. So yes, there are people like that.
Okay, now let's talk about the growth of the industry. I'm actually very concerned, excuse me, because the world says that Nigeria has the fastest, one of the fastest, if not the fastest, movie industry in the world. And so that perhaps also speaks to, what you're saying. But, there is a challenge that a number of people have said. I'm glad that, as you said, the industry is growing, so more and more people are getting in. But before we get into the industry angles, there are some watching you right now who will watch you and speak. You want to speak to them about how to get in a way that you do not compromise your morality, in a way that you do not compromise your principles. They are new. They are struggling to be relevant, but they have the talents, just as you said, but they don't have the chance. What do they need to do? What steps should they take so they navigate away from the sharks?
Okay. Firstly, there are film schools. If you're the type that graduated from theater arts, fine, you also go to film schools, go for auditions, do monologues, put it out there on your page, tag the directors, producers you want to work with. They will definitely see it. Keep doing monologues, keep going for acting classes, brushing yourself. Definitely, one person will pick you. It might take a while, but definitely, as far as you keep doing that, keep going for auditions, keep putting yourself out there by doing monologues, somebody will see you.
Demonstrating your talent.
Yes, someone will see you. There's no help.
How about mentorship?
Yeah, of course, having a mentor, maybe someone you admire, and if you're opportune to, talk to the person or see the person one-on-one, yeah, God bless you, the person is good to you to also mentor you. It's fun.
I like the good to you part, and I think I'll star it in my mind. So let's talk about the industry. the industry is growing, as you have said. 2017, I mean, you started professionally in 2017, you said, but the industry has been on for decades. Stage or the screen? Which would you go for, naturally?
Oh, I love stage, though. Reminds me of school. It's just spontaneous. It just comes.
Tell us about the magic of stage.
I feel once you step on stage, it's another different you. Like, not in a bad way. Like, the spirit of theater is just in you. So you just controls your movements. You're just spontaneous. It's not like, there's no action. No, it just flows. You know, your voice, audibility, flexibility, you can just play with it.
But you know, so there are those who say, I mean, we've spoken to producers and movie makers who say that stage is a lot more expensive and maybe not as commercially viable. Because you can take a tape around for a movie. You have to move the whole crew around for a stage.
Yeah, true. You can actually, when it's a movie, you can do that anywhere. But stage, you take it out of the theater.
You can even download it if you want, you know, in some cases. Yeah. Okay, now to the industry. You know, there are so many issues in the industry. And for practitioners, what are the major challenges? What are the major challenges you face as an actress?
Oh, I would say... It's getting better. I would say, I'm just trying to pick one out of many.
Don't worry, you can mention them. Maybe in the process of mentioning them, you just pick on one.
Being on set, sometimes, you know. Sometimes if you're... Sometimes the co-actors can be really... What's the word to you? Can be really frustrating to you if he or she is not getting the vibe or giving you the energy. You know, acting is give and take.
Yeah.
If he or she is not giving you the energy that you want in return, that can be frustrating. Two, of course, you know how acting here, sometimes it will take a week if it's a TV film, 4 days, 5 days to film. Some people take 3 days, it depends. So you need to film. Sometimes you leave set like 12 a.m., 1 a.m. to come back to resume your call time again for 9 a.m. So take about when you leave set by 11 or past 12 a.m. And you need to resume that same set again by 8 a.m. Sometimes you leave there by past 1 a.m. to resume. So you just need to, it can be challenging.
You know, that raises a question in my mind. Do you think the viewer, the person watching your movie, the person consuming the content you co-created by being on set, do you think they have full appreciation or significant appreciation of what is put into acting?
I would say, firstly, for those people who will really appreciate that, is people who understand the fundamental or the basic of acting, the sees it. I know some people that have tried and they left. It's really stressful. How do you get all these lines? How do you do this? You know, and when they watch you, something that can take like how many days, then you just pack into 2 hours. So like they appreciate you for it. To the fans that might not even know the behind the scene, but they see you do it, and for them is actually it's make believe here. So it just brings the reality to life. And they just love you for it. Some people just love it for it. You know, when they see you act, some of the movies can be depicting their own life they are facing. So they forget that it's just acting, and they see the reality in it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and they love you for it. So basically, it's just people who understands it, who have been there, who has maybe they have seen a little of how it goes. Yeah, that could understand.
Let me ask you a tricky question. It's tricky, so prepare your mind.
Okay.
Now, Nigeria's movie industry, for now, I don't know if it is significantly classified, like into, or categorized, perhaps, movie, like adult or soft porn or horror or thriller. It's all jollof of all kinds of all kinds of genre in one. The comedy here, drama here, action there, everything in one. In fact, some horror as well in the mix. But we're importing all kinds of values. How do you see the movie industry helping to protect those values? I ask that question because now people watch American films, watch all kinds of films, and they see some things that are like, this is not part of our culture. You know, or some certain action scenes that I cannot even be talking about. And I'm not talking about action of shooting gun or beating somebody. Those action films that happen behind closed doors. Do you see, how do you see us as a nation protecting our culture from such influences through the movies?
Movies these days, if you watch them, they portray things happening. They portray our culture well. They portray maybe, okay, there's this movie that this lady did, Muabudu, about the Alu 4. She portrayed it, you know, telling the world. There are also movies that shows the economic breakdown. There are movies where we can also, you can see that the people needs better government. So I think, like I said, Nollywood is doing well. They are portraying us and our culture in a very diverse way. That's why you can see most international brands, they're coming into once a week.
So what do we expect from Mary Jane Ogu in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Professionally, I am talking about. Professionally.
I just registered my company, Dewdrops Media. I look into producing. I'm partnering with people. So you expect more good movies from my company, respect me as a person to have evolved, you know. I look forward to acting with an international brand, so yeah.
I was going to ask about your aspirations as well.
Yeah, my aspirations, you know, to, it's just still involves in movie to help also the younger ones who are coming to see the lights better through my film.
Okay. Now, this one last one, because I'm already getting signals in my ears. Kunle Afolayan is someone that, once you see any of his movies, the signature is culture. And a number of people in the industry also have that signature on their works. What should people look out for as Mary Jane's signature in Nigeria's Nollywood industry?
So, the signature of Dewdrops Media for me is when people, the signature is the mind, happiness in the mind. So when you feel down or when with the heart stress, when you just see Dewdrops, there's a drops of happiness. Whenever you say it, it's just drops of happiness to you and whatever situation you find yourself. It's entertainment, so you watch it and you're elated. You're leaving whatever downcast thing you have to a brighter hope, giving you a brighter hope.
Well, since you have mentioned the name of whatever company, we're going to send you an invoice. Because we have to thank you very much this morning for being here. Mary Jane Chimema Ogu is an actress and a model. Thank you so much for your time today. And all the best all the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that's Sunrise this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your day so far, your morning so far. A few minutes' time, it'll be noon. Hope you've had how many liters of water already? Please, keep safe. Lubricate properly and ensure that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye for now.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.